Want help to grow your business? Download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.
What do people really pay attention to? And the best illustration of this happened in rather tragic circumstances back in 1994 when 800,000 people were slaughtered in the Rwandan genocide, one of the greatest tragedies of that decade. Yet, what were people paying attention to at the time? See, what was interesting was at the same time that this genocide was going on, a little girl named Jessica McClure had fallen down a well in the US, and it had people glued to their television sets. In fact, there were more donations and more calls to members of Congress in the US about Jessica McClure than there was about the tragedy that was unfolding in Rwanda. So what do people pay attention to, and why do they pay attention to those things? And why does this matter in business? Because what people pay attention to is what they end up buying. So let's have a look today at the psychology of what makes people buy. And joining us today in the studio, Ashton Bishop, CEO of StepChange. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Adam.
So Ashton, joining us from StepChange, you've worked with quite a few clients over the last year, and I guess you've seen that all things aren't equal when it comes to what people pay attention to.
No, certainly when we look at being successful in business, the first currency that we need to look at is not financial currency, is the currency of attention. Because if you don't get noticed, then everything else is immaterial. And when we talk about make people buy, so what makes people buy, the first thing we need to do is buy into the message. So communication precedes action. So certainly it's a fascinating area. And what's interesting is that a lot of people don't know why communication is effective. So hopefully over the course of today, we can start to unpack some of those hidden drivers, the secret sauce of what makes people buy into messages.
Excellent. So today we're really unpacking that. How does the psychology actually work? Because it's an area that, while the tradition around marketing is it's about creative people being creative, trying to get attention, while the madmens of the world were trying to be creating, there was actually a group of nerds out there, and happen to know a thing or two about nerds, that were actually studying this, and instead of trying to...
in those glasses, Adam?
Yeah, well, yes, I do. So while the madmen were trying to be creative, the behavioral economists were actually doing experiments to work out exactly what makes people buy, and that's what we'll be looking at today. So what actually drives attention? What can we do around it across the triggers that matter, the framing for your message, and the fuel to actually get your message out there? Ashton, should be a fascinating show today. So let's get started with this currency of attention. You've got this perspective from behavioral economics that there's two systems. Would you mind telling us about that?
Yeah, so this thinking comes from the behavioural economists. So certainly there was the business economists who went out being rational, of having a rational view of the way the rational world works. That's not the way people work. So there's a whole bunch of work out there that's dubbed behavioural economics. There's popularists like Dan Ariely, who's written a book called Predictably Irrational, that talks about the way that humans are irrational, but in predictable ways. But if we trace it back, Kahneman and Tversky won Nobel Prizes for their work around what makes people behave in certain ways, and what are the thinking errors that are predictable in the way that we think. So System 1 and System 2 is the shortcut for the way that the brain operates, not the way it's necessarily designed, but the way it operates. And when we look at our biology, B-I-O, versus our biology, B-U-Y, these two things connect around System 1 and System 2.
Great.
So System 1 is a system that comes from the older parts of the brain. It's effortless, it's instant, and it's constantly running. It's kind of the autopilot for the way that we behave. So if I say 2 plus 2...
equals 4.
Yep. If I say fish and
chips.
Yeah. Have you ever been driving along the highway and like you're going along and then you go, hang on, I'm 50 kilometres down the road? Who's driving the car?
I hope it was me. Someone was doing it, that's for sure.
They're all the attributes of System 1. So System 1 is effortless, it's easy, and it really just, it's constantly on. So if I suddenly change my voice, How did you detect that?
Well, the heart started racing, so I might need to change my pants.
But how did you detect it was the question. Like, so how did you do that? Like, you responded without consciously responding. Just something happened in an instant. And that's the magic of System 1. See, German neuroscientists believe that 95% of the brain's cognitive functions aren't available to the conscious mind. So System 1 is very subconscious in the way it operates.
Now, Ash, I've heard you talk about System 1 before as almost like an internal monologue, like a little voice in the head. And you've actually got an illustration of how that works with this maths example.
Yeah, so there's a bat and a ball up on screen, Adam. You see them?
You're going to ask me a tough question, aren't you?
Well, let's start with the question. So the bat and the ball together cost $1.10.
Got it?
Yeah. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. So how much would the ball be?
Well, the first reaction, of course, is always to go for 10 cents. But then I look over at you, the face you're giving me across the table, and think, hang on, that Ashton guy, he's usually up to something. Might have to think a little bit harder about this. Do you want to unpack what's happening in the decision-making here to work out and calculate how much it is? And maybe we'll start with the answer.
Yeah.
It's not 10 cents, is it?
No, so when we get to the voice in their head, that's the key difference between System 1 and System 2. Is System 1, it just appears. So where does the 10 cents come from? So everybody, when they hear $1.10, they go, oh, ball, 10 cents more than the bat, $1.10. Easy. But then the voice in their head starts going, hang on, that was too easy. So it's hearing that voice is what we're consciously aware of. Subconsciously, 10 cents appears. So do you want to work through the answer, Adam?
Go for it.
Yeah. So if $1 more, if the bat was $1 more than the ball, then if the ball was 10 cents, then the difference between them is 90 cents. So the bat isn't $1 more than the ball anymore, so it fails.
Got it.
So to be successful, 5 cents for the ball, $1.05 for the bat equals $1.10. So this question is one of 3 questions out of Shane Frederick's Cognitive Reflections test. Now, if you got it wrong, don't worry. 80% of Ivy League students in the States, the best of the best, actually get it wrong too. It's not because they're stupid, it's because this takes conscious effort and thought, and System 1, with our gut reactions, wants to jump to a conclusion very quickly.
Right, so we've got this illustration here, Ashton, that System 1 gives you an answer as soon as you hear the question. When you ask the question, bat and a ball together cost $1.10.
Yep.
Bat costs $1 more than the ball. The brain goes, oh, must be 10 cents.
Answer.
Something happens, though, to actually get to a rational answer, which requires a bit of thought. So what happens there?
So what happens is, in that moment we go, hang on, that's too easy, something's not right, there's a trick here. We either sit with 10 cents and just close our eyes and go, la, 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 and just pretend and go, well, they'll tell me the answer eventually. Or other people go, oh, I need to think about that. That's where System 2 comes in. This is the second thinking system that we had. It's conscious, it's effortful, it calculates 17 times 24.
526, maybe?
It compares...
Where are the answers?
It compares 2 contracts for terms. It compares 2 ovens for value. If you're in a store and you're looking at 2 ovens and comparing them for value, is that easy or hard?
It's easy until my wife is there.
Yeah, but it's actually, there's a lot of different variables, there's a lot of different factors. It takes a lot of thought. When we're parking or reverse parking in a narrow space, that's what System 2 does for us. When we're listening and we hear our name called out in a crowd, you know, there's a conversation on the other side of the room, we hear our name, that's System 2 drawing attention to the focused and the narrow.
Great. All right. So we've got these 2 systems here, Ash. So
Yeah.
System 1, the immediate response, the reaction,
Yeah.
it seems almost implicit, just comes out naturally. And then
Yeah.
System 2 actually requires a bit of effort. Is there... why are they called System 1 and System 2?
Well, System 1 always comes first. So System 1 is 60 to 100,000 times faster than System 2. So System 1 is always there first, telling us what's going on, forming a gut opinion and thinking it's got the answer. Now, if there is what we call a violation of an assumption, so if there's something wrong and System 1 goes, hang on, that's not quite right, and it's strong enough, it calls in System 2. it doesn't always want to call in system 2 because people aren't stupid, they're lazy.
Right.
The brain takes up something like 2% of our body mass and 20% of our energy usage. And as we've evolved over time, it used to be smart to conserve energy. Now, in the thinking age and the information age, actually people with strong system 2s tend to be the ones that get ahead in life. The engineers, the computer scientists.
The Zuckerbergs of the world.
The Zuckerbergs of the world are
Got
getting
it.
ahead. So there's been a shift in recent times for favouring people with strong system 2. But in marketing, communications and getting people to buy into messages, we need to understand the relationship between the two and how these two systems fit together to affect the way that we consume information.
Great. So what's the link here, Ash, between these two systems of psychology? How does that affect the way people actually buy?
Yeah. So System 1 and System 2 is one way to think of it. My mentor, a guy called Dave Trott, said it a different way. He said nothing happens without the elements of desire and permission. And when we think about it and we match it up, System 1, the emotive, the limbic system of the brain, the arrives first, are animalistic, that's the desire. Monkey see banana, want to eat. Yeah? So that's our monkey brain, our desire brain. The permission is the System 2 piece. And depending on the nature of the decision, the size of the decision, System 2 will be called in and System 2 will generally have the last word.
Right.
And so much communication goes wrong by not understanding the importance of having desire and permission attended to. Now, too often people are banging away at the rational reasons to believe the permission piece without the desire, and nothing happens.
Okay.
Or the
To continue enjoying this presentation, download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.